Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most important things that you can do in your yard to help you have the best success possible, especially with your hanging baskets, your containers, and your landscape plants, and that is drip irrigation. You've heard me talk a lot about how important drip irrigation is, especially with our hanging baskets that dry out very quickly, and that's partly to do with the cocoa liners because the oxygen passes through, air passes through, it's very permeable, and even with our containers, we find that can be a big problem in the summer months when it gets hotter or when we get busier. Sometimes if we don't have a system like this installed, it's easy to forget because we have many things happening. I know that in my own experience, before I had my drip irrigation line ran to all of my containers, I would often forget. The plants would become stressed because they'd be underwatered. They'd wilt, and I'd water them, douse them with water. They'd revive, but just that process of being under stress and then coming back really stunt the growth of what they could possibly do or their full potential. So by giving them consistent water, which is the key, I've had much better results in the garden, especially in the hot summer months where you don't really have to worry about it. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the different systems that are available today. I'm going to walk you through the process as I upgrade the existing system that I have, which will basically show you the process of how easy it actually is to run a drip irrigation system. And then we're going to show you some of the end results of that new upgrade that I'm going to do. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a trip over to Lowe's, and just like most big box home improvement stores, they have many different varieties available. We're just going to go to that store because it's the closest to me, and I'm going to show you what's available. So let's head over there really quick. Let's talk about what they have, and then we'll be back here to discuss how I'm going to upgrade the system. Here we go. So guys, we're here in Lowe's, and this is the rain drip system that I was talking about. It comes in 3 different sizes. The first one is the one that I use for my back flower beds using a very simple system that comes with the timer, and it's only $60, which is amazing considering the convenience that you get. They say this is great for ground cover and flower beds, and that's exactly what I used it for, mainly for my Supertunia Vistas back there. I want to make sure that they get water because they need water more than the other plants, and it allowed me not to water the weeds, which is great. Next we have the size for the shrubs, which also comes with a timer, and that's $58, and you get more for your money, I think, with this one. And then this is the one that I've used for my hanging baskets and my containers, which is great. All right, so one other thing that's interesting to note about all 3 of these kits is they all come with an automatic timer that you add to your faucet, and I'm going to show you how I did that at home. But what's really cool about these, like for instance, this first one is $35 for the basic kit for your containers and your hanging baskets, and then it also comes with the timer, automatic timer, and then they sell the timer by itself right here. This is the exact timer that you get inside of that kit, and it's $33. So it's a much better deal to spend the extra $3 basically to get the kit that comes with those things that you need. Of course, you can get add-ons to that, and they have all of the extra drippers here. That's very easy to use and all works together. But yeah, this is how I do it, and I'll show you how to do that right now. All right, let's talk about the most inexpensive way to enhance your garden with drip irrigation, and that's by using this small container or hanging basket system from Rain Drip. It's really great. And the best part is they have a hotline that you can call for assistance if you need it. And it's basically done in 3 steps. The greatest part about this is that you don't need to change your infrastructure, which means you don't have to do any kind of plumbing work to add something like this. All you basically need is a Y adapter that you can add on to your existing faucet or spigot. And then from there, you just add the included timer system and then run your drip line. It's that easy. They even say it's in 3 steps. So anyways, on the back here, it says that it is capable of running a drip line to 20 containers. And on this schematic here, you can tell it has hanging baskets and various containers that you would have around your garden. But I say from personal experience that it's better if you have a little bit less than that. I would say right around 15 would be more comparable, because once you run more than that, depending on what kind of emitter you have, if it's emitting a ½ gallon per hour or a gallon per hour, you do lose pressure. So I think 15 pretty much is the limit, especially in our garden where I have a gallon per hour emitter on the end of each one of these things. So this is great. Everything's included that you need: the drip line, the timer, the adapter, and the emitters. It does have the half-gallon per hour dripper on there, and that's great. The more time you let them run, the smaller the emitter that you'll need, because half-gallon is not very much, so you'd have to let this run a little bit longer. If you have like a gallon per hour emitter, then you can run it less time because it's emitting more water. So if that makes sense, hopefully it does. So this is great, especially to get started when you're ready to take that step into drip irrigation. The other one that I'm going to be using today is this automatic watering kit, and it's made for ground cover and flower beds. And I'm not going to be doing that today, but I'm going to be using the system to upgrade my existing system. Now, this one is great because it comes with the tubing or the hose that is a little bit more, allows for more water volume, and you can tie into that and then run your drip to your containers, and that's what I'm going to use it for today. Let me give you an example of the different types of tubing. All right, so this is the tubing that is ran in this small system that comes from the timer, and it's used as the main line, and then you tee off from this to your containers as well. So because this is the main line, you're not able to run as many drip lines to your individual containers or your plants in the garden as you would if you used the larger irrigation hose, which comes with this system right here. And because this is larger, you have more water volume inside, and you don't lose the pressure as much as you do when this is used as the main line. So less, if you're doing less, you can totally get by with this, and I have that working in my yard right now. But if you have more, it's better to start off with this larger system where you can tie off from this periodically throughout the length of the main line, which gives you more pressure, and you don't lose that along the way, especially if you have many, many containers off of one zone. So this right here, let me just show you what this comes with, and this is what we're going to be using today. So inside this box, we have, obviously we have the timer that comes with the instructions, and the water pressure gauge there that will help regulate the water. Then we have the main line that I was talking about, and that's what we're going to use for our main system. So let's go ahead and take a look. And this says it's in 3 easy steps, and I firmly believe that it is pretty much that easy. And I'll show you where we're going to start. All right, here we go. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to upgrade the system that I already have in place. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because I have 2 individual drip systems running the hanging baskets and also the containers here behind me and the ones on the wall. And what I want really to have is to have one system watering all of those plants instead of 2 as it is now. So yes, I have 2 different timers running those plants or containers in 2 different zones. And the main reason why I'm running 2 is because I used one of the smaller systems which runs the small drip line as their main line. And by the time you get to the very end of the fence on that last container, you lose some of the water pressure and it doesn't water as much. So by changing the line out, utilizing the larger system and the main tubing line that's much larger, I will be able to run all of these on one, and I will not have to worry about losing water pressure. In fact, it'll tidy up everything a lot more. If you come over here, you can tell behind here, you can see I have multiple lines running over here to my various plants. I have 2 main lines, and then off of those main lines, I have the drip going to individual containers, okay? Especially over here on this side where Millie is right now sleeping, we have 2 separate drip lines, the brown and the black, and by replacing the main line, it's going to look a lot more tidy. So that's what I'm going to do today. If Millie decides she wants to get up and move, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see about that. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to take you through the steps and you'll see how easy this actually is. All right, so we're going to first start with the bag that's labeled step 1. And the first thing that we're going to see in this bag is that it has the Y connector here that you use to connect directly to your water spigot that you have existing already in your yard. And so this is my water spigot here. I have a connector bringing it down here to where I already have a Y connector installed. And I like to use brass. I mean, this is going to work just fine. And if you use this one, it's not going to be a problem. But since brass lasts a lot longer, I went ahead and upgraded to that. I just purchased this at Lowe's as well. But you can use either one and they'll be just fine. All right, so you have your Y connector. And the reason why you have this connector is because you can put your timer right here, and then you can run your hose right over there. This, I have multiple ones already connected, including my hose, because I do a lot. I need my hose, and I have 2 other systems installed. But for right now, we're going to just simply talk as if I just connected this Y connector directly to the spigot. Okay, so you start by connecting that, and that's pretty simple. That's already there. If I were to connect this one, I would just twist it on. And you could even use a little bit of plumber tape to really seal that threading, okay, if you wanted to, if you notice that it was leaking a little bit. But that's it for that. And then you start, the next thing that you'll do is you'll take the timer out. Okay, so this is step 1, still part of step 1. And this is relatively simple. You just look here, and we'll talk about how to program this in just a second. On the very back, it has an area for your batteries. So you just take this out. This is the battery case. All right, in this case, you just install the 2 AA batteries as you would any other device that took batteries. Then you take this, and then you insert it back into the device, just like that. And there's a seal that keeps it watertight, so you don't have to worry about that. Then on the front, right here, you notice if the light is flashing, you'll see that in a second, then you know that you've installed it correctly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply attach this right here to one side of my Y connector, just like that. Then I'm going to take my connector, which is my regulator, so I make sure that I don't have too much water pressure going through that line, and then that gets connected directly onto the other side. So that is step 1. All right, step 2 is to utilize my new main water supply tubing. Okay, so I'm going to undo this. Already you can tell that it's going to stay in this spring-like form, but it eventually does balance out. So I'm going to connect this to the system here. All right, and now we're ready to run the new line. Since I want this line to run that way towards the wall and then down along the wall to the back, I'm going to put a turn connector here. And these are really great because basically what you do is you fit the tubing into here and then you tighten it on, and that's what holds it in place. So you'll see how easy that is. And this tubing, by the way, can be cut by scissors. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a cut right here. There we go. And then I'm going to run the tubing line inside there, just like that, pushing it down, giving it some force, and then tightening it on with the twister connector, just like that. And now I'll have the other one going this way that will run towards the wall. So I'll do the same thing. I'll connect that other piece and then run it behind my containers and along the wall. Just give it some force, make sure it's all the way in there, and then tighten it on just like so. Now by tightening it on, you ensure that it doesn't pop off. All right, to keep this tidy, I'm going to nail this in using these clips that I purchased extra as an accessory at Lowe's. All right, so I'm at the end of the line now. I've ran it all the way across the house behind these large boxwood hedges here. So then I'm going to close it off here by using one of these crimping accessories. You have to put this in here like this. Make sure you feed it in, just like that. Then you crimp it, just like that, to where it's closed off. Then feed that through and close it just like that. And that crimps your end, just like that. All right, when I removed those two main lines here at the bottom before I installed this new main tubing, I went ahead and cut off the lines that ran to the containers just like this. So now I have to have a way to connect this to the new tubing. And the way I'm going to do that is with this 1/2 inch connectors right here. So this you can purchase also at Lowe's or probably any other place. And so what this does, it allows you to connect your tubing to the main line. And it has a little swivel connector here. This will connect to that. And then this, if you look on the inside here, it has like a little puncture piece right here. And that punctures and fits right on the main line. Now, in order for me to get a hole in the main line, I purchased this little extra piece that allows you to puncture a hole in the main brown line here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here like that. And I think what I want to do is I want to put it just like this to the side. Okay, this way I can run that to go up because this swivels. Okay, so I'm going to put it in the side. Now I have my hole right here. And by the way, you don't have to use one of these pieces. I think this was about $10. You can buy something a little bit more inexpensive. It's just like a hole punch, and you punch a hole right in there, and this way you can just place this right through that hole. Make sure it lines up. Just like that. Now, I connect this to that. Make sure I put it all the way in, which is great, and look how nice and tidy that is. And this top part here turns and swivels. So that's basically it. So I just have to do that with all of my other ones, and then I'm good to go. So the last part I need to show you is how I run drip to the plants from the main line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run drip to this hydrangea right here, and also this pot of super bells. So what I've done, if you come in here, is I've come in here and I've attached one of those connectors, just like I did before, with a drip line with the with the smaller drip line, I should say. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a T so that I can run everything from the one connector. So in order to do that, I'm going to use a T connector just like this. So I will connect that here, just like so, by pushing that into the tubing. And then this way, one will go to this pot, and the other one, I'll run the line to this pot. So let me do that right now, and I can just take this line. So I'll take this main line, and I'll just kind of like eyeball it. I'll connect this side, as like so, right here. And then I'll put a 2 gallon per hour emitter, because I like to run my drip systems shorter duration. So it will get more water in a shorter amount of time. If I wanted to run my drip irrigation longer, like I said before, then I would use maybe a 1/2 gallon per hour, or maybe a gallon per hour. You just have to adjust it depending on how much water comes out with your emitter. So I'll take this one and connect it here, cut it just like the other one, put my 2 gallon per hour emitter right here on the end. The side with the little arrow goes into the drip line, and then the other side is where the water comes out. So then I can just kind of turn this so that it goes in here. I'll lift this up and put it in at the root ball, and the rest of the weight of the plant will keep it in place. And then I'll take this one and just put it right in here in between one of the branches. That will hold that one in place. And now both of these plants will be watered from one connection to the main water line. And it's easy as that. All right, so this is the timer system, there's 3 separate dials. The one on the very top is for your manual watering. So if you see that things need watered, you just turn the dial to as many minutes as you want, up to 90 minutes, and it waters immediately. Also, if you notice that there's rain or you don't need to water, you can do a rain delay up to 72 hours. So you can turn it off for 3 days and it'll turn on automatically after those 3 days. So that's the top dial. The second dial basically is how often you want it to water and how long. So you start with this dial first, and you determine how often you want it to water. So I want it to water every day, so I'm going to select every 24 hours. And then for duration of how long, and they usually water 10 minutes per day. You'll hear it turn on right now because it's going to remember the first time I set it on. There it goes, it's on. Now, whenever you set it for the first time, it's going to remember that. So tomorrow at this time, since it's set for every 24 hours, it's going to come on at this time every day. If I want it to water in the morning, I need to remember to come out in the morning and make sure to set it at that time. If I want it to water at 8 o'clock, I come out at 8 o'clock in the morning, set it to 24 and to 10 minutes, and then it will come on every day at 8 o'clock and run for 10 minutes. So it remembers that first time that you set it, and then it continues to water after that when you set it. So pretty simple, not too difficult. So we can tell that this is working now. Look at that. That's 2 gallons per hour. And this is going to be great. I only probably going to run this anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how hot the days are. So it's good to see that all my hard work is actually working and everything is running just fine. Now, how I water, I've talked about this before. My hanging baskets are watered from above. I use a little spray nozzle. I run the line from the main line up through the rafters and down through the chain, and then I zip tie them together. And as you can tell, it's on right now. It's on a very fine spray, which is perfect because it sprays the whole surface area of the hanging basket, which is perfect. It's kind of like a diffuser. It diffuses the water out evenly over the whole top of the hanging basket, and I found that that's the best way to water things like this, because it can be difficult sometimes to figure out how you're going to do it. I tried running a line all the way down to the surface of the soil, but when it gets windy and these blow around and they twist around, sometimes that can dislodge the drip irrigation line and cause a big mess underneath, and it can break branches off. So in order to avoid that, I have it coming off the top there and just right there in the center, diffusing out across the top. All right, and as for the unsightly tubing that went up the side of the house and all the way up to the top, they have these little clips here that you can use, and it has a nail in one side, then it has the clip that attaches over the tubing, and that holds it in place. And so what I'm going to do, and what I've done before, is I've used that and I've kept it nice and straight, and you just basically nail that in just like that. And then you keep it nice and straight so it doesn't look unruly and it looks nice and tidy. And for this hanging basket, I've done the same thing. I've gone up the side of the door jamb and up to the top. So it's kind of tucked in the corner so you don't even notice it if you're not looking for it. So that's it. That's how you install a working drip irrigation system. And I know that today I upgraded my pre-existing 2 lines that I had going here for a bigger tubing so I could get more water volume. But you don't have to do that. If you want to just get your feet wet with a system like this, this is a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about the large tubing and poking the holes. You just start with the smaller tubing and then you just tee off wherever you need it. And I found that this has worked amazing. In fact, this is what got me started in the garden, and it definitely has led to more successes than before I had this. So anyways, we thank you guys so much for coming. I hope I answered some questions on how to go about doing a system like this so you can have success in your garden. In the meantime, we hope to see you next time, and thank you for stopping by. Bye-bye, everybody.